Hey there, Douglas Scott McCarran. I'm going to talk a bit about inversions today. This is a music-related video. I'm 70. I started when I was 14. I can't play like I did when I was 14. Arthritis kind of gets to you after a while. Anyway, but I do have a lot of knowledge that I want to share. One of the things I want to talk about is chord inversions. It's one of the things I go over in 50 Steps to Guitar Greatness, which covers like modes and key patterns and chord structures and minors and majors and melodic minors and, harmonic minors and melodic minors and straight minors and all sorts of things like that. But inversions were one of the things that really excited me when I finally bumped into it, because when I first started, I just, this is a D chord. But this is also a D chord. I couldn't understand what that had to do with that. And what it has to do with it is the chord structure for D is D, D, E, F, G, A. Boy, I had a brain fart there. But D, F, and A. In a minor chord, it's a natural minor, not natural F. In a major chord, it's F sharp. And that's why that happens. That's one of the things we talk about in the chord part of 50 Steps. But once you learn your D, that has that note. This also has nothing but D's, A's, and F sharps. And then up here, so you got this F sharp, those two, that's an A, that's an F sharp. Guitar is not quite attenuated properly. There's a D there, that's a D major. So it's not the figure that makes it a D, it's the note combination. The other thing that's cool about it, though, is with inversions, is you can, instead of having D be the bass note, you can use the A or the F sharp, because they're all part of the D chord. So on your D B string on the second fret, you got an F, 5 string is an A, 4 string is a D. And there's your 3 notes. So that's a D chord. And any combination up and down the neck, F sharp, A, D, those are all D majors. So you can flip what's on the bass around. And it does give you could hear there's a difference and yet a similarity. What it becomes interesting for me, besides just playing the guitar, is when you're composing. And the bass player, for instance, quite often the bass player will sit there and hit the 1 of whatever chord they are. So if you're playing a D chord, the bass player is playing a D. But they could play an F sharp, or they could play an A. They could play F sharp and A back and forth and not ever hit a D. And it's kind of interesting, because when guitar players change their guitars, when they change the inversions, it's somewhat noticeable because they're brighter. Bass players, because the notes are deeper, it's more subtle. And so you could actually have the bass player jumping between F sharp and A, have the guitar player playing a D chord, you have the singer playing an A, and for those of you who know how to tune your drums, you can actually tune one of your drum heads by tightening and loosening it up to match that also. What this does is it expands the polyphonic feel, the many sounds of the music that's going on, and it's quite full. You get that wall of sound feel without having to have a wall of sound, because the D chord is, say, spread out over 4 or 5 octaves instead of 2 or 3. The other thing that's cool, but with bass players doing this, is you can do key changes much more subtly if you use the bass player. Like a lot of rock and roll and stuff like that, it's just. And everybody kind of moves in a box together. You know, the singer goes up, the chords and everything. That's kind of the standard way. But you can also have, before you get to the change, you know, going to there, the bass player, this is going to be A, which has A, E, and C sharp. You could have playing the A and then go C sharp, A, C sharp, D, C sharp. And now you've changed the key in the bass, and then the bass player follows in on the next measure. One of my example I use is what was it called? Come On Eileen. It's this pop tune from the back in the day. And there's this very intense key change where the vocalist changes and the whole structure and beat pattern and everything just changes. And people that I've talked about talk about what a really intense key change it is. But if you actually listen to the song just before it, the measure before it, you'll hear the bass player actually changing from the key that they've been in, shifting over to this new key. And what it results in is a key change that's the singer can jump into very easily because the music's already changing. You don't have that box feeling. Now, there's, you know, like for instance, if you want people kind of banging around and dancing and jumping around, then your key changes, you don't want them subtle. You want it real clear. Most people when they're dancing, like, you know, they just like that box, you know, that. And they got real firm. But if you want music to, like, you know, sit around and listen to, like Pink Floyd would do this a lot, where they'd sit there and kind of subtly shift back and forth between the keys they were in. It's real sort of, you know, head music. Not just getting high music, but like if you just want to sit there and listen to it. And that's one of the main reasons why their songs, I think, actually stand the test of time, because they're actually classically based. Now, I just want to say, I play classical guitar and I've also played rock and roll, but I really recommend, no matter what sort of structure of music you play in, go learn classical composition theory, because it'll expand your mind about how to combine things. Like, you know, a C major scale and an A minor scale have the same notes, but the one in C major is C, whereas in A minor it's A. And they sound very good. The major chord sounds very bright. The minor chord has this kind of darker sound to it. But you can layer them on top of each other. And then you can, you know, do things like toss an F sharp in and suddenly you're over in another key. You know, it's really cool. And you can do it without sounding really boxy, and it just kind of like flows around. So some classical pieces I've seen kind of go through like 4 or 5 key changes in one composition. It's pretty wild to watch. But the cool thing about it is, when I would learn classical music and I'd read these, you know, what to play, and these notes would just appear out of nowhere. I was like, what the heck's going on here? Once I understood the theory, it's like, oh, that makes total sense. It's a cool thing about music. It's this odd combination of mathematics, logic, feeling and emotion, and physical rhythm, all at the same time. To me, it's like the total human expression. But anyway, I just want to, like, for those of you who don't know this, bring up inversions and also the possibility of key changes. Again, check out 50 Steps for the Guitar Greatness. It's in the link below, and my website, dsmccarron.com. And as always, I'm pushing 70, so it's harder to make money. So if you're open to buying me a coffee or giving me something on Patreon, I'd appreciate it. All those links are on dsmccarron.com. And that's it. Thank you very much. Till next time.